Hello and welcome back to the channel. And
Hello there.
Wait a minute. Whoa. Hold the bus. Who's this guy?
Who's this guy? Where? What guy?
I don't.
Oh, you mean me? Oh, of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, the chosen one. Woo! Cue the audience applause. Bim, 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 bim.
Well, as you can see, guys, there's a little bit of a change up. Because, as you can see, he's clearly not Danny. He's not a beautiful black man from Texas. He's a he's a beautiful white Scottish Englishman called the Chosen One.
Couldn't 12 minutes later. Couldn't be more accurate. Couldn't be more accurate. I agree. Couldn't be more accurate.
Exactly, man. Exactly. So, if you are wondering what we're going to be talking about, I wonder who this goofy git is up above Jacob. I wonder.
Oh, sorry, that's the parody.
To be fair, it was kind of spot on. So.
Yeah, and then it's also a parody of a parody.
Yeah.
Well, this is actually the first horror movie I ever watched.
Oh, nice.
I remember it was like 2 a.m. I was about 15 at the time, and it was on BBC One. And obviously, like TV will filter certain bits out, but
Yeah.
I wouldn't have known at the time anyway because I'd never seen it beforehand. So I was like, "Scream, okay, I've seen posters with the Ghostface mask around. Let me check this out." And I remember being so batshit scared that after the movie had ended, and like it has that cut at the end where it like cuts to Ghostface's mask. I was like, well, I guess I'm not getting any sleep. I legitimately could not sleep after that. Now I can watch it and be like, okay, cool, whatever. But that's just through like time. You get desensitized to, or you get used to certain things the more you're exposed to them. But in that initial moment, from the opening and the phone call and then the stabby, I was like, wow. And then I was like, Shaggy, what are you doing in here? And then I was like, he's the killer.
Yeah, no, like
straight from the off, him and Billy, it was obvious.
No, I think that's the whole point. I think the twist was it was two killers and not that it was like that's what made this movie so good. Because like I'm not gonna lie, like I probably watched this way too young, but I was desensitized from a young age, being Scottish and all. The first horror movie I watched was Chucky, and I was about 4, and it was all of them back to back.
Oh dear.
So yeah,
I will say this though, like I do love the way that every movie that has come out like this has tried to basically be this. Even its own sequels have tried to be this, and nothing can replicate it.
Nope.
I think because it's so embedded in the pop culture zeitgeist.
Yeah.
The mask and the phone and just the whole mystique around it, and the idea of a killer taking inspiration from Halloween or Freddy or Jason and using that as movie trivia. Like, okay, how much do you appreciate horror movies? To the point where I will call someone up, and if they get these questions wrong, they're dead.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's a loophole, because even if they get it right, you're still dead anyway. Like,
exactly.
It's just part of the game and the chase and the thrill of it. And the twist at the end where like Billy gets stabbed, and you think, oh my god, it maybe wasn't him. And like initially, like when you're like, oh my god, maybe it wasn't him. Oh my goodness, that's a twist. Who would have thought the 90s, greasy bad boy dude isn't the killer? And it's revealed to be Stu, and then you're like, oh wait, it is Billy, and then it's not Randy because he's the nerd you would expect. It's a nice, cool twist on things.
Yeah, no, see, that's the thing that I loved about this movie is like even like the opening, like it was the first movie ever like kill off one of the biggest actresses in Hollywood at the time.
I'm glad you mentioned that, because I was just about to say killing off her character was actually, I think, one of the smartest decisions possible, because no one would have expected it. Especially on all the posters, she's like front and center. So everyone's expecting the movie to go and see Drew, like, was it Drew Barrymore?
Yeah.
As the lead. And then she's whacked within like the first 5 minutes. And
then went to Neve Campbell, a lesser known actress.
A lesser known actress, which is exactly what it should be, in my opinion. And is very refreshing, because it allows for the main star to pull the audience in. Then they're killed off. And you're like, oh my God, what? And Neve Campbell was a very, very... She played a very complex, nuanced final girl. Like, you could root for her. You could really sort of understand
Also, she's the first woman in the history of horror movie to lose her virginity and not die.
Fun fact.
Fun fact for you. Also,
the 3 rules of to survive a horror movie, which are, you can't have sexual relations, which most people don't need to worry about. And then you can't do, do drugs was the other one, and you can't. What's the other one? There's a third one.
Oh, well, it's an old school trope, so don't get annoyed in the comments. It's basically don't be any other race, because it's usually them that die first. Also, Evan. Anyway, moving on. Yeah. So another thing that I liked about this movie is the fact that you get to see Matthew Lillard in all his glory. This is roughly about the time just before he did do Scooby-Doo, or he was in Scooby-Doo. Like, that's the thing, and it showed you his talents. He could be the goofy, Shaggy type character, but he was also a very good dramatic actor. And I don't know if you've ever seen this other movie. It was an amazing movie called SLC Punk, and he was amazing in that movie too. And SLC Punk, it's about him being a punk during the Seattle punk wave. It's amazing. Like, it's great.
It's got actors in there that I haven't seen in ages.
Dude, you need to watch it. It's one of the best movies I've ever seen, and it hits home with like the way it goes about it. You just need to watch it. It's got really good life lessons in it, and that's the thing. Like, Matthew Lillard doesn't get the props he deserves, so I'm taking this time to give my boy a shout out to Mr. Shaggy, Mr. Matthew Lillard.
Love if he played a Joker.
Oh, dude, that would be amazing.
I would honestly love if he played a Joker. I really would. He'd be so good at it. To
be fair, he was also the best. He was like the best cameo, and he's all that as well. So, I'm just saying.
When I saw that, it was like, "Sir, what are you doing in this movie, sir?"
Yeah, like, you're too good for this.
Like, what?
To be fair, I felt the same with Tanner. I was like, Tanner, you're too good for this movie, man.
Tanner and Matthew, get them out of there. Everyone else,
you can stay, because
can we like invest in a Hazel Bat but with Scream Edition? Like, that would be unique.
Yeah, that would be good, because at least the annoying characters, would meet a certain demise. Because that's the thing. Like, as much as I've been loving like the newer Screams, one of the things that I do miss is that they do stuff like kill off the biggest actress. Because, like, I'm sorry if you've not seen Scream 6, but come on, Jenna Ortega's asking for it at this point, and they still haven't done it.
If they do a Scream 7, I know fans wouldn't like it, but tough shit. Like, it's Scream. Like, characters you like. We lost Randy. Like, I mean, I think it sends a bold statement. I know that, like, think of how shocking it would be. You're killing off not Jenna Ortega. You're killing off Wednesday.
Yep.
Like, you're killing off someone that is especially because Scream is also a commentary on the current thing. So think about, like, even in Scream 6, when they kill off, like, spoilers, when they kill off the people at the opening, like the one who plays Flash from, like, Spider-Man.
Yeah.
We're expecting them to stick around. Nope, bumped off. Like, and I like that, because it eliminates, just because someone's a certain actress or an actor, it doesn't mean the movie. No one is.
Because he bumped off Samara Weaving, who's been very much in a lot of the horror movies, like what was it called again? The Babysitter and The Babysitter Part 2. And I actually really like those movies, and I hope they get a Part 3, because they finished that off on a cliffhanger. But moving on from that,
like, I would absolutely love if, like, not love, because it makes it sound like a sadistic freak. But I think, especially when you look at the characters that we have at our disposal now, Chad is basically the new Dewey, like, for all intents and purposes.
He's a mega Chad.
Yeah, mega Chad. You've got Mindy that's like the new Randy.
Yep.
You've got Samantha that's like the new Sydney, and you've got
a mixture of Sydney and Billy, because she's got the tendencies. She just fights them.
I think Sam is the lead. This is what I don't want people getting wrong or mixed up with. Sam is the lead. Not Jenna Ortega's character. It's Sam, because she's Billy Loomis's descendant. How shocking would it be for Jenna Ortega's character to be killed off? Then you make it personal for Chad and Sam to find out whoever did it. And whoever kills Jenna Ortega, especially because I'm glad that we talk about Matthew Lillard, I firmly believe, especially with the clips that were first put out for Scream 6, I think the likelihood Matthew Lillard will return is high. Very high. I think, you're getting to a point.
They had a reference to it in the interview. Do you believe Stumacher's dead?
Nope. And he didn't come back for one final scare. Every other Ghostface character has been killed twice and then twice over. Like, for me, I think it makes sense, because Scream always finds a way to connect it and tie it.
And they kept playing with it in Scream 6.
I know, like, people want something more out of Scream now. Like, Scream, yes, it's stabby, but people want something more. We want to be left with some kind of new thing. And I think having Matthew Lillard return could be a great cliffhanger.
Yeah.
And it's almost like you've got Billy Loomis's descendant versus Stu. And what you've got there is all everyone talks about is Billy Loomis, Billy Loomis, Billy Loomis, Billy Loomis. Hey, Stuart's here too. Much love, Stuart. Hey, Stu's here too, you know? Like, there's a conversation there that you can have, and you can make it quite interesting.
See, what I would like...
And you can link it all the way back to this movie where it started.
See, what I would like as well, though, is what if instead of going straight to kill Sam, he's trying to indoctrinate her and be like, this is your father's legacy. Your father would want you to come with me. And you see Sam with the moral dilemma of, like, should I do this? And she's got the... Like, it would be such a good, like, gravity thing, especially with the way her mind is at the moment, especially with what's happened 2 years in a row at this point. And she's like, I'm sick of this.
That would be so... That would be so important, I feel, because then you get to a place where it's personal for the characters. Like, there's real stakes. They're not just running from a character that's just in a mask going and stabbing people. And how many times can you link it back to someone's sibling? Like it gets tiring. It gets...
See, that's where... Why it would be good, because if you try to indoctrinate her, and the way he went about it is what pushes her away from doing it, because he then does Jenna Ortega's character, and then she's like, you killed my sister, and he's like, she was holding you back, you need to, and that then makes it personal, and that's why they're going to go head to head.
Conversation there.
Yeah,
because I think then you could link it back all the way back to this movie, where Stu will feel like he's doing Billy a favor, like he's doing Billy a favor, like that's what
he's paying
homage to his brother.
Homage,
like, in a very sick, twisted way. Especially with how they were at the end of this film, where they're like stabbing each other and they're like getting pleasure off of it. You know, having that would be so cool, because I think the Scream franchise, for as long as it's gone on, there's a lot of regrets they had, and bringing Billy back in Scream 5 was one of my favorite things about it. And then the way they used Randy in Scream 3 was important, because they knew they regretted killing him off. Like, look, you know, they regretted it. And I think we're at a point with Scream, especially when you go all the way back to the first one, like, the more money they make, they'll just keep pumping them out anyway. But I think there's a mineral in the first one that they struggled to replicate. The second one came very close. Very close. Like, I think Timothy Oliphant's Ghostface or Scream, or what Scream? Or his his performance as the serial killer was so good. And I think
definitely
the best ghost faces we've had, because he's so unhinged. He's freaking out of it. Like, the minute you see him in that class, he's out of it. And I want someone like that, like someone that's completely unhinged. And how can we do that? We go all the way back to Stu. I think it only makes sense. And for me, as much as it's two killers, Stu always felt like secondary. Like,
he always felt like it's like, we've always theorized who was who when they were doing the kills, but he was always the forgotten one. Like, everybody's like, oh, it was such a good twist because of the both of them, but that's the only thing they remember about Stu's character. They don't remember the way he was, or like why he was like the way he was, and I think it would be good to delve into that as well.
Absolutely. No, I completely agree. I think, what was probably like your favorite takeaway from the first one? Like, the favorite takeaway?
Probably that, like, you can never trust as much as you think you can, because that's the thing. Like, the friend group within this movie, they were so involved with one another's life that it was such a shock to the rest of them that they could be friends with someone like that. But that's the thing. In real life, all these serial killers, what is the most common phrase? He was the nicest guy ever. You would never expect him to do these things.
And that's the problem.
That's what I loved about this movie, is that it taught you that, and it was one of the first movies to actually show what it was like. And that's why, you know, it's telling you to be careful of who you trust. And that's what is really important, especially within a society that we live in today. It's like, it still holds up to this day, and that's why it stands the test of time, is like the moral life lessons and what happens within this movie itself holds up. Where a lot of the newer ones, like, say for example Scream 4, like, really good movie, but like, you know, like, it's forgotten a lot of the time. And it's the same with like 3 as well.
I think, you know, especially when you look at the landscape of horror movies, and I know most horror fans They don't like hearing this, but it's unfortunately it's the reality of the situation. Most horror movies suck.
Yep.
Like the majority of them do. Like the horror
They're
franchise
campy, they're cheesy.
Is not as respected as people would like to think it is. And like very few horror movies are good, and even fewer than that are brilliant. The first Scream is brilliant.
Yep.
And the reason it's so hard to replicate is because for something like a slasher, you know, it gets kind of generic. You've seen it before. So for me, as long as they just do it well, then I'm fine with it. But in regards to like the first Scream, it has its cultural footprint, you know, and I know that Freddy and Jason and Michael, they have more of a
predominancy.
Like, yeah, they have more of a footprint themselves.
And Leatherface.
And Leatherface, like those four, and like Chucky, and you know, even Jigsaw, like those
Hellraiser.
Hellraiser 7, like those guys have a real footprint in and of themselves. But what I like about Scream is it offers the fact that it can be anyone.
Yep.
And I like the idea. I like. Don't get me wrong. The reason Ghostface isn't in that same bracket as them in a respect is because they're specifically one person.
Yep.
But with Ghostface, he or she can be anybody.
Exactly.
It's like a whodunit, but on steroids.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay.
It's like a live version of Cluedo.
Yeah, pretty much. And although sometimes it falls into the camp of it can be predictable, it can, you know, you can kind of put it together and whatever else, you're rooting for the characters to make it out the other end and survive and be and safe. And you get to a place where you're just like, man, I hope they make it out of this. You know, and for the whole of the first Scream, you're like when was it Tatum when she's going into the basement,
the garage, yeah,
the garage. You're like, don't go in there, and then she goes in there, and you're like, okay, that's a wrap. Oh,
yeah.
geez.
Also, I think another point that should be made as well is the other reason why it's a lot of them don't hold up now. No, Wes Craven. Wes Craven was the mastermind of this movie, and he was the mastermind of Nightmare on Elm Street as well. So it goes to show you when someone like that, who sadly passed away, rest in peace, my guy, someone with that amount of talent passes away, you start to see what happens to the movies. Like, it's only recently gotten good again, and I love the fact that it's gotten good because it's honoring Wes Craven instead of, you know, not honoring him.
It's honoring Wes Craven and whatever else, you know. It's great. I mean, the one thing I don't want to happen is us to get to a point in the franchise where someone's like, "Hey, Sydney," and then like they're using chopsticks. Chopstick sabers, by the way, really.
Yeah, I know they're awesome.
Really cool. But I really thoroughly enjoyed this movie, and I think there was no better horror movie for me to start with, because when you look at the landscape of horror, there's levels to it. Like there's levels. I can't do supernatural stuff. I just can't. I like my sleep. I can't do it. This I can. And sometimes when I watch Scream, I start laughing my ass off because he'll fall over a sofa, something will get thrown into him, or he'll walk into a wall, you know, or he'll get like knocked with the best part of the first one for me is when Tatum throws like a bottle at his like waistline and he drops. Like I love it. I cry every time. It's so funny.
And so like that's what I also like about like the newer ones, like Chad, like for example in Scream 6, like Chad's sitting there like double teaming them all, just like bah, 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 and I'm like, that's funny because it's finally someone fighting back, but the way he went about it is comical, and that's what I'm saying. That's why I also have the other version, another version of Ghostface up there. Is that's why I love Scary Movie. It's like they played on that antic, you know, they were like. He was tripping over things, and he was like, "Oh, I bet you don't know where you are."
The piano gets pushed down, and he's like,
"Yeah," or when he's like, "You don't know where I am in your house," and she's like, "I see your legs."
Me and Stuart always had this thing where we did like this, like run, because whenever he runs, like his mouth's like all the way open, his eyes are like that. It's hilarious. Like I used to get like terrified watching it as a kid, and now I'm just like, it's freaking funny. Like it's
exactly.
It's just like, the mask. It's hilarious.
Yeah, like it's just a ghost, really, and it was just a normal mask that was getting produced at the time.
The painting, you know, that famous painting.
So yeah, like and that's the thing. It was just a normal like Halloween mask to begin with, but they took it and made it a iconic mask, and you can't say that about most things. Like obviously, you can say that about the William Shatner mask, but the Jason Voorhees mask, he didn't even get that until part 3.
Yeah, and you get to a place where. It also makes it feel like you don't need big budget and whatever else to tell a great story. Like, like it's literally this is something that could happen in your local neighborhood.
Yep.
That's what made it such an icon, is its footprint. And reason why its footprint was so strong is anyone could be Ghostface. Like literally anyone could pick up that mask, put on a bin bag, and then that's it. You've got something like that, and that's what makes it stand out amongst all the others. Is yes, in a fight, Ghostface against Freddy, is he gonna win?
No.
Ghostface against Jason, is he gonna win? No. Against Leatherface? No.
Definitely not.
Against Jigsaw? No. Like against Chucky? Maybe if he kicks him or something. But
yeah, because to be fair, that's my biggest issue with like the Chucky movies. Like in real life, as a doll, you can legit just kick him halfway across the world. Yeah, he'll come back, but it'll take him a while. And by the time he comes back, it's not going to be much of an issue. You kick him again.
Yeah, like, oh, you're here again. Hello. Get out. So I think I like the simplicity of it, that it's just a dude or a girl with like a sword or a blade or a knife going around doing stuff. And
yeah, it's not supernatural where like Michael Myers became supernatural, Jason eventually became supernatural, Freddy was in your dreams anyway, so that was sort of supernatural as it was.
Like with the character. Like Michael Myers is supernatural, but the best thing about Michael Myers is you don't know why, you don't know how, and that's the mystique and the ambiguity of the character.
Yep.
Is why I hated the later sequels. You don't go into why he is that way. What makes Michael Myers stand out is you don't know. You don't know, and then of course
he just snapped as a child. Like there's no explanation for it.
But Halloween Ends tried to repeat, mistakes of the past.
Sorry, what movie was that?
I've forgotten. I'm not sure what movie.
I'm pretty sure that movie doesn't exist.
No, not in my Rolodex. Not in my Rolodex. No way. Gotta catch 'em all. Not this one.
Got to destroy that one. Anyway,
burn that movie.
Yeah,
so fucking terrible. But I do like the roster of characters as well. Like you've got pretty much the archetype. You've got the insane unhinged one, Stu. You've got like the 90s greasy bad boy, Billy. You've got the nerd, Randy. You've got the final girl, which is Sydney. You got
and then you've got the more sexual girl in that friend, and she also was wearing a nod off to Johnny Depp's character in A Nightmare on Elm Street. She was wearing the exact same top.
I didn't even know that. I didn't even know that. It's a good point. I actually want to rewatch the first Scream now.
Dude, we can definitely do that at some point, because it's like what we can do for next time is like maybe do like a scene for scene review. But hey, I'm just enjoying doing this because it switches it up from what I'm normally doing.
Yeah, agreed. And I do like talking about a wide array of things. And I think one other thing that goes sort of under the radar with horror movies is the soundtrack.
Yes, and the soundtrack
is so important to a scene. Like it's important to any scene in any movie. But the reason why it's specifically so important to horror is when there's a horror scene, when Ghostface is chasing Sydney through the house and he's going to kill her, you don't need like you don't need that.
No.
Because tonally it fucks the whole it doesn't work.
Yeah, it really does. So
or it's like, if it was like, imagine Halloween as an example, like Michael Myers is chasing someone and it's going like no. So having a sort of somber, ominous soundtrack play in the distance while something's happening is important. But aside from that, also knowing when to have the soundtrack, especially in horror. And this is what Scream does so well. When the soundtrack is needed, it will be played. When the principal's about to be killed, there's no soundtrack. Like it's just like the door shuts, gets snuck up on, and then it's just simple. And then the soundtrack hits in the minute the blade goes in. Like, and that's powerful.
It goes to show you that movies nowadays are doing too much. Like, you can have a very simple budget movie and it will become a cult hit because of the way it was. Like, think about movies like The Breakfast Club and things. They were never popular when they first came out. Forget about me. But that's what I'm saying. Things like that's the same with Scream. Like, it became a cultural hit because they went for one thing and it became a completely different thing. And that's what I love about this movie as well. One of the reasons why Scream 1 is always going to be one of my favorite horror movies of all time is because who in the right mind would have thought about using a phone? There was other ones before it. I'm aware of these ones. Jacob, you might not know the lore, but there's like movies like Black Christmas and like other ones along the lines where they used the phone. But the way they used the phone was completely different. And the fact that Courtney Cox was in it, but guess what? She wasn't even famous at this point yet. Like, Friends wasn't a big hit at this point. So
I'm glad that you brought up the phones because it taps into a fear that every single human has. Who's calling me? Why are they calling me? It taps into that fear. And then
Who's listening?
Who's listening? And even something that the later sequels do so well, that they've managed to keep true throughout the whole franchise, is this. Hello, Adam. Yeah, I just thought I'd give you a call. Yeah. No, that new movie's great. Hey, Adam. Like it changes. Like you think you're like, you think you would be talking to me, and it's like, nah, I've been Ghostface the whole time. I'm talking to you.
Yeah.
Like it's so trippy. And on that, this movie saved the horror genre.
Yep.
The horror genre.
It was dying at this point.
There was nothing. It was dead. Like it was barely anything. Like there was so much a fallout from because at this point we'd had sequels after sequels after sequels, whether it be Halloween or Jason or whatever.
We're getting ridiculous at this point. Like we were getting stuff like Jason X.
Oh God, I remember the first time I watched that and I was like, what the
It has one of the best kills in a horror movie franchise when he like freezes her face and smashes it. Other than that though, really bad movie.
Very good for like a what if scenario, but a very terrible movie. And then Freddy versus Jason. Now, me and Stuart got into a plethora of arguments about this, and shout out to Stuart if he's watching.
Yep.
But I just want to get, on a quick side note, I want to get your consensus on this. We said if Freddy and Jason were to throw down, I said Freddy would win. On the sole premise, you have to be in the nightmare to beat him. If you ain't in the nightmare, you ain't beating him. And Jason will just reanimate. But by and large, Freddy will be the victor.
Oh, yeah, I would say, for me, I think Jason wins hands down. And also, there was a little secret.
You're Jason's side of...
Yeah, because Freddy uses your fears. And once Jason got over his fears, Freddy was fucked. And that's why he did ultimately win at the end. Yeah, he gave the wee wink and all that stuff. But screw that stuff. I don't care. But anyway,
I love that, man. Damn it.
Yeah. For me, the reason why I think Freddy can win in a dream world, but Jason wins any other place, and that's just a fact because Jason's just unstoppable. Like he cannot die. Like he just does not die. Where Freddy, once he comes to the real world, he doesn't have his powers anymore. He's just a normal guy with a glove again. And a little fun fact for you. They were actually going to make it that Freddy had known Jason as a kid at the lake and he had done a certain thing as he's always been implied to have been, but actually didn't get confirmed. But in this movie, they were actually going to confirm it with Jason.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yep.
Man, Stuart's going to leave a comment now with like he's going to do the smug face. Damn it.
It's okay. It's okay because Stu, at the same time though, Freddy would still kick his ass in the dream world, so hey, you've both got the point. But I'm also not going to let you have that smug face, because no.
Yeah. Thank you. That's good. Damn it, I didn't go how I expected. But like, I did like that Scream just wasn't just another generic blockbuster.
Yeah.
Like, this was also around the time that you had so many things coming out that were just to make a quick buck. There was a lot of like 90s horror movies featuring like heartthrobs like Sarah Michelle Gellar or Jennifer Love Hewitt and Freddie Prinze.
Are you talking about I Know What You Did Last Summer?
Like, there's so many movies like that came out where I'm like, okay, cool, but it didn't really leave an imprint on the genre itself. And
well, I Know What You Did Last Summer, the first one did, the rest of them didn't.
Yeah, the first one was good. Like after that, it just
yeah, a lot of them just dwindled off.
I think it was quite refreshing to have a movie kind of come in and especially take the horror genre and just look at it from a bigger picture and go, right, let's look at this genre and how can we make people take the horror genre seriously by taking the concept of horror and treating it as movie trivia. That's scary because no one takes horror seriously. No one. Yeah,
no one. Like
people take it seriously. Like
still to this day, people don't take it seriously. They just go to see it to get spooked, and that's really it.
Yeah, I also want to stress this one thing. Everyone gets scared by different things, and I totally understand that. But when you're in the movie, like cinema, and you're watching Scream, and people are going, like, okay, don't oversell it. It's not that bad. Like, it's literally just like, you mother. Like, it's like that. You know, like in the third one when Roman's like running down the steps, he's like, oh, you mother.
Yeah, no, like that's the reaction. Like, I hate it when people do that as well. It's like, I get it's scary, but you see, if you're that terrified and you're watching that movie, you shouldn't be watching that movie.
No, you really shouldn't be. Like, even when I first, like, thinking all the way back to where we started, like with the beginning, when I first watched it, I wasn't going. I was just like, oh my god.
Mhm.
Like it was more like quiet and internal. It wasn't like
Yeah.
I was like, ah!
Yeah, no, very true.
Sounding like Laurie from the beginning of H2O, where she's like, ah!
Mhm.
Ah! Like it sounded like it was like Jesus. Oh god.
Yeah, it's ridiculous.
I remember that where she's like having like a fit.
Yep.
And it's like,
And I was watching that going, that is not Laurie Strode. I'm sorry, who the hell wrote this movie? And also, isn't that another movie where the mask was just like so badly CGI'd half the movie?
It was. It was like just this white circle. It looked like Casper the Friendly Ghost with an afro.
Oh, dude, it was so bad.
He's going around the corner and he's like this.
Mhm.
And he's got like a big afro, and then it's like slick back. I'm like, it's like he was like, wait, before I go into the next scene.
Mhm.
Like,
Yeah, very true.
The continuity is askew here. I didn't even realize that the kid that was in that movie, one of them plays Gretchen in Prison Break. The other one was the kid from Jumanji.
Yep.
I'm like, wow. And then Josh Hartnett as well. Like, shame. It's a
also,
shame.
wasn't that another one that Gordon Joseph Levitt was in as well, as one of the wee hockey hooligans as well that ended up getting stabbed?
Yes. That was one. I think that was 6 or 5.
Yeah.
Might have been 5.
Yeah, it was one of the ones. Anyway, I just know because I remember.
God, that would make for a fun discussion. Uncle? Like, oh.
Yeah.
But,
I know. But anyway, I think this has been fun. I think we're going to start wrapping it up a wee bit because it's getting...
No worries. But I do agree that Scream is one of the best movies of the horror genre. And one of my favorites personally. And I think, it saved the game. It reinvented the brand. Every slasher afterwards wanted to be it. And the cast and the dynamic laid the foundation for everything to try and emulate.
Also, I'm going to give this movie one of the rarest ratings I've ever given a movie. This is the one movie I would probably give a 10 out of 10.
I actually agree.
One of them.
There's not many faults I can find with it. And I think that's primarily because there's nothing prior to it.
Yep.
Like, I mean, if you were to dig into any movie, you could find critique and fault. But I think with this particular movie, because it was such a landmark, I can't. Like, there's things like, okay, yeah, maybe you could have killed a couple more people to heighten the stakes, or you could have. But I think,
to be fair, who are they going to kill off though? Because there was not many more people you could have.
I mean, the way this movie plays out, as opposed to the sequels, is it's more of like, will they die versus they're gonna die. Like it's tense. It's
because you weren't sure because it's the first one, and that's the thing. The reason why it's a 10 out of 10 for me is because when it comes to a horror movie, I love Leatherface. I love all these other horror movie characters, but for me, Scream is maybe top 1 or maybe top 2 because it would either be like
Michael. I can rewatch it more than the rest.
Yep.
Like I can rewatch it more than the rest. Like if you're to, and also we'll talk about this when we get to Scream 6. But whenever a franchise goes to New York, I get worried.
Yep.
And the reason I say that is because before this movie came out, Jason Takes Manhattan.
Yep.
All that stuff. Every time it goes to the city, there's always some problem that happens.
Yeah. To be fair, like the only good thing about Jason Manhattan was the funny scene when it was the guy in the tracksuit, and he's like, "I'm gonna whip your ass," and then he gets his head punch off. That's like the only redeeming quality of that movie.
Themselves, and I think Scream for the most part. If you're looking for the most consistent horror movie brand, it's Scream. It's
exactly,
Scream, without a doubt. And it all stemmed from this movie. It gave us scary movie. And I think, it introduced us to a whole plethora of actors that went on to do really good things.
Yeah, exactly, man. Exactly.
But I also just want to say, anyone who's watching this, jump in the comment section down below. Comment any particular point that you agree with, disagree with. Make sure you smash the like button for this brewski right here. Subscribe to his channel, because this right here is the most humble Scotsman I've ever come across in my life. You see this guy right here? This is the man.
Thank you, Jacob. And as I was saying, we're going to wrap it up here, but also, before I do, go subscribe to this guy, because if you wonder why, all this, sort of pop culture stuff started happening over my channel as well, it's because we do streams over on his channel, and there is a lot of fun and laughs to have, and there's a lot more of us. Yes, somehow there's more than what you've already seen. Yes,
there's I've heard that in a movie somewhere before. It might be Rise of Skywalker. There's more of us.
Yeah, but at least our universe actually is nice. Theirs doesn't even exist in my thing. Yeah, exactly. But anyway, guys, I hope you did enjoy this video. and there will be a link for his channel down in the description below as well.
Thanks for bringing me on, Chief.
Not a problem. But I shall see you guys in the next one.